Hey guys, made a video recently called "Not Christians, Not Jews, Not Muslims, Arseholes" or something like that, talking about this topic. But the latest stuff going on in Paris is sort of keeps coming up and it's been hard to ignore, so time to talk about it, I think, and give you guys a platform. That's the main reason for these videos, is to sort of give some thoughts, but also to give you guys a platform as well to share your thoughts, you know. So, and again, these videos, I tend to aim them at moderate people, because people that have extreme opinions on these things, there's not really a lot of point discussing it with them, really, because if they're that extreme about it, they're not going to change their thinking. So to me, they're welcome to express their opinions and say what they think and everything else, as long as they're polite about it. But as far as having any sort of dialogue with them is a waste of time, because they're not going to change their thinking. So these videos tend to be more at the moderate people, calling for calm and reasonableness. There just seems to be that these emotional things like this, people get so emotional, and you can just see where it's going, you know. Now, as I said in that other video, you know, there's these nut jobs that come from all different backgrounds, whether they happen to be Christian or Muslim or Jewish or atheist or whatever they happen to be. You get these nut jobs that do this shit, you know. And recently, in the Western world, whenever we get these Muslim assholes do stuff, straight away the whole Muslim society gets blamed. And we're seeing some really stupid shit going on in Paris at the moment, where those arseholes have gone and done what they've done and killed 12 people, including another Muslim, and you know, done terrible crimes there. Now, the way that should be treated is, here's a group of people who have committed a terrible crime, and those people need to be caught and punished as severely as possible within the law. And they need to be caught by the police or security services and punished to the full extent of the law, of course. And anybody that was involved in that, so if that was just that handful of people, then they should be punished. If it's a part of a bigger group, then that whole group needs to be punished. Whoever was involved, I mean, we need to handle these things legally. You know, we need to handle these things legally and look at them legally. If there's a crime committed here, we need to find out who's responsible, and in any way. So anybody that helped these guys, or that incited these guys, or anybody who was legally involved or illegally involved, anybody who is connected to this crime needs to be punished to the full extent of the law, of course. But to, you know, the reaction of some people was to go and throw bombs. Sounds like they weren't real bombs, but to go and set off some explosions at mosques, which is just the hypocrisy of this shit. Is that what happens is that we rightfully call these guys terrorists. I mean, I'd prefer that they're called criminals, because what they're actually committing is a crime, and labelling something terror, it's overly emotive, and it's not necessarily accurate. And what is terror and what is not? And what is amazing is that people are pissed off that somebody and angry that these guys have gone and committed this terrible crime, but they label it terrorism, and then at the same time go and do exactly the same thing. You know, going around and throwing explosives, saying these guys are bad guys because they've done this bad thing randomly to innocent people, and then going around to those mosques and doing something random to those innocent people, because you can be guaranteed whoever happened to be at the mosque at that particular time, there's very unlikely they had anything to do with that other crime. You know, which is exactly what's happening in the other parts of the world where this is going on as well. We've got people saying, these people came to our country and bombed our country and killed innocent people, so we're going to drop bombs on innocent people in their country and kill people. And we'll call what they do terrorism, and we'll call what we do the war against terrorism. And it's just, from a spectator sitting back in a fairly neutral country watching this stuff go on, it's really fucking obvious what's going on, and how the situation's deteriorating from people doing exactly the same thing. It's primitive behaviour. It's saying what those people are doing is wrong, which is true. What those people are doing is wrong, going around to some innocent people, just because the people at that magazine had said some stuff, you know, expressed their thoughts or made some humour about some topic, to go around and kill them for it is totally wrong. They should be able to make humour and joke about any topic they want to without having to worry about people going around and killing them. But then to do exactly the same thing is hypocrisy, and also extremely stupid, because what this is, you can see it's an ever-increasing spiral. History will show, you know, however long it takes for the world to realise what's going on now. It might take 50 years or 100 years or 200 years, but in the future they'll look back at this time and say how fucking primitive we were. You know, because we are. It's so fucking obvious. To take the moral high ground and say our society's good and their society's bad. Their society's telling us that they're telling us what's that catchphrase about our way of life? They're challenging our way of life. They're threatening our way of life. They're threatening our freedoms. They're threatening our way of life. They're attacking innocent people and killing innocent people. They're terrorists. They're you know, and then to do exactly the same thing in return. You know, to say that they're attacking our way of life and then attacking Muslims as a group. You know, as if that's exactly what these people are doing in their reactions. What a lot of these people are doing, these countries and individual people and, you know, the nut jobs that are going and responding to this stuff are doing exactly the same thing they're complaining about. And obviously all that's going to do is spiral it up, because what's happening is you get a couple of guys who are at that mosque in Paris who are totally moderate and who would never even think of doing any harm to anybody else, and suddenly someone throws a bomb at their mosque and kills their sister. You know, it's for some strange reason people think that Muslim people are somehow motivated by different things to what everybody else is. You know, or there's, you know, or Jewish people or whoever else. We're all motivated by the same thing. I don't understand why it's so clear to some people. You know, if they come and attack my country, I'll go and kill them. Well, why is it so surprising when you go and attack their country, they want to come and kill you? It's exactly the same. You know, it's you know, that someone goes and plants a bomb in America and kills some innocent people, or someone drops a bomb from a drone into a town in Afghanistan or Pakistan or Iraq or some other country, and you know, kills one person who is suspected of being a terrorist and 12 other people who are innocent people, or a bunch of kids. Why would we expect them to react any different to what I would? I mean, you know, if you or I were sitting at home minding our own business watching TV and suddenly a bomb went off and blew up our house and killed our family and we survived, what would you do? When you found out who did it, who dropped the bomb on our house, and you found out who did it, what would you do? And this is why it's spiralling up out of control. And you know, 100 years from now, 200 years from now, they're going to look back and say, how fucking ignorant were those people? And they're going to say it about all of us. It's not going to be who was right and who was wrong. They're going to say it about all of us. They're going to say, well, you know, the Christians were blaming the Muslims and the Muslims were blaming the Christians and the atheists were blaming everybody, because it's lumping everybody into a group. And that sort of behaviour, you know, I was watching, it was hard to ignore this. I kept thinking making a video about this was a waste of time, because I'd see these reports on YouTube and I'd look down through the comments at the ignorant fucking comments in the comment section. People doing exactly what they were criticising. People doing exactly what they're criticising, going on about how these people threaten our way of life and these people and this, that and the other, and they're doing exactly what they're criticising. You know, there was anti-Muslim protests. Well, really? What? You're protesting about a whole religion because a subsection of that religion are nutjobs. Well, the next time some Christian picks up a gun and goes and shoots a whole heap of kids at a school somewhere, are we going to have anti-Christian protests in the street, do you think? Probably not, huh? Or the next time some atheist who has no thoughts on religion at all picks up a gun and goes and kills a whole heap of people, and they've all got their own reasons. I know these guys yelling Allah Akbar, and they're using their Islamic ideas as an excuse. But if they didn't have that, they'd have some other excuse. You know, it doesn't mean just because those nutjobs are saying that they're fighting for Allah. You know, it doesn't mean that all Muslim people are the same, and it doesn't mean that all Muslim people are responsible. You know, People are calling on Muslim leaders to condemn the violence. Well, when a Christian goes berserk and says God spoke to me and told me I had to kill lots of people, and goes and kills lots of people, and then leaves a note, a suicide note saying that God told me to do it, you don't have people in the media calling for Christian leaders to condemn it, do you? Because we just say, well, yeah, he was going on about God and stuff, but he was a fucking nut job. And that's it. We just wipe it off. We don't say, oh, it's Christianity's the problem. And I mean, some people would say all religions are the problem, but that's not necessarily the case either, because we also get guys that do this because voices were talking to them, and they're not religious people, and they're not talking about any particular religion. They're just saying some voice was talking to them in their head, because they're crazy. They're crazy fuckers. It's irrelevant to what excuse they're giving. They're crazy fuckers that are killing other people. And for us to then become crazy fuckers and kill other people in response to it, it's fucking hypocritical and really stupid. Even if we ignore the fact that killing other people's the wrong thing to do, even if we're just totally selfish and talk about our rights and our freedoms and our fucking bullshit, going and killing other people is not going to make us safer. It's going to make us less safe. What we need to do is, when people commit crimes, which is what we're talking about here, when someone sets off a bomb in America, they're a criminal. And anybody that helped them do what they did are criminals. And those people need to be caught and punished to the full extent of whatever law happens to pertain to that particular crime. So if it happens to be the death penalty in that particular country or state or whatever, put them to death. If it happens to be life imprisonment, whatever the maximum punishment under the law is. The same as if I didn't say a word. If I didn't say any word at all, didn't connect myself to any religion at all, and I just walked into some place and planted a bomb and blew it up, and then the cops caught me, what would the punishment be? And what would be the punishment for anyone else who helped me? Do that. That's what we need to do. And then we don't then go and commit a crime ourselves by bombing a mosque somewhere, or by dropping a bomb on a village somewhere. That is doing exactly what we're saying is the wrong thing to do. It's just the hypocrisy of it. And when you're outside, there's one advantage of being in a fairly neutral country where it's not particularly involved in it. We're not hit with all the propaganda from either side at all here. So we get to see, and it just stands out. What's going on just stands out. And I know I keep mentioning America because they're a major player in it, but it's not just America, it's England as well, it's Australia as well, and it's sad to see that it's happening in France as well, Anti-Muslim protests. Really? Really? Can you imagine if there was anti-Christian protests somewhere, what we would say to that? And undoubtedly there has been. And how would we have reacted to that? If in some Muslim country somewhere, or some country, let's just say any country at all, people had anti-Christian protests, how would that get reported in the media? Anybody who says anything anti-Christian is straight away labelled, the devil, right, by some people. So for us to behave in the same way, it's just, I don't understand why it's not so obvious. Why we don't see anybody saying stuff like this. That the media is just all full of, it's just so ignorant. Surely 100 years from now, 200 years from now, people are going to look back, because the thing with our age now is all our stuff is digital, isn't it? So all these reports, news reports and media reports and everything else that we're seeing today, we're going to still be able to look at in 100 years' time, 200 years' time, and they're going to look back and shake their heads and say, what the fuck was this? Here they are complaining that these people had randomly bombed some civilians, and their response to it was to go and randomly bomb some civilians. These people were complaining that these people were trying to interfere with their life. They can't interfere with our way of life. They can't interfere with our freedoms. They can't. And then in the next breath say, but we, down with Islam. Down with Islam. They're bad people. No, the people who step outside the law, we've got to have the same law for all of us. And that's on a domestic level within a country, and also on an international level. If you're going to make a set of rules for one group of people, we've got to live by the same rules ourselves. And that's inside the country as well. So, inside the country, throwing bombs or shooting people or doing anything at all to harm other people is against the law for anybody to do it. So anybody who does it, anybody who supports anyone who does it, anyone who's involved in it in any way needs to be caught and punished to the full extent of the law. Anybody. You know, whatever their beliefs are. So the people that are doing it yelling at Allah Akbar, or the people who are doing it bombing mosques, or the people who are doing it downs with Islam, whoever's doing anything that's against the law. Free speech is fine. If they want to have protests, anti-Islam protests, that's free speech, but it doesn't help the situation. It's just going to make it worse. All that's doing is polarising the two different sections into two different camps. It's just making the situation worse. But free speech, you know, and our societies are dominated by the extremists now on both sides. You know, the moderates don't speak. That's why when you look on the internet, it's all one extreme or the other. It's all these extreme nutcases, you know, Christians saying that Jesus is the solution, you know, everyone else is full of shit, Jesus is the solution, and Muslims saying this, and atheists saying, oh, all religion's fucked. And that's just as extreme. Extreme atheists. You know, down with religion. Well, no, down with nut jobs. You know, I think you guys who've known extremely devout religious people, I've known wonderful Catholic people, I've lived next door to Jewish people, I've worked with Jewish people, I've had, and Australia's pretty multicultural, you know, so over my life I've worked with all sorts of people. A Muslim guy, I used to work night shift with a Muslim guy, just the two of us all night, so I used to hear all sorts of stuff from him about his life. And, you know, anybody who's spent time with devoutly religious, normal devoutly religious people, more often than not, they're just nice people. I mean, I lived next door to a Catholic guy, was the best neighbour I've ever lived next door to. He never tried to put it down my throat. You know, he'd go off and do all his Catholic stuff. You know, the Muslim guy I worked with, he'd go and do all his Muslim stuff. I can't remember him ever rarely even talking about it. You know, the Jewish people I used to work with, they rarely talked about it. I know that they used to have events and things that they'd go to, and I'd say, what's that about? And they'd tell me, but no one ever tried to put it down my throat. Most religious people just stick to themselves and do their own thing. Why would we care? Why would we care what other people think, you know? Again, it's only those extremist nuts that break the law. It's the criminals. Either the international criminals or the domestic criminals, they're the ones we need to deal with, either as individuals or as groups. Whoever's actually involved in it, they need to be dealt with. But the rest of them, to condemn a whole group, I mean, who cares? If people are nice people, or they're not breaking the law, or they're not hurting anybody else, who gives a shit what they believe? Whether they're Christian, Jew, Muslim, Buddhist, gay, straight, bi, who gives a shit? You know, unless it directly affects someone else, unless it's actually hurting someone else, who gives a shit? You know, and and to be going on about extremists, and that's the hypocrisy of this shit, is that the Western world is dominated by the Christian media and by the Christian thinking. And I'm not blaming Christians either, but that's why we get that bias. It's why we get the bias. It's, you know, it's sort of trendy at the moment to be anti-Muslim, and it's trendy to be anti-Jew, and it's all a Jewish conspiracy. But the Christian thing to sort of, you know, the Christian, if you're a Christian, you can say your prayer, God help us, and then you go off and throw bombs on villages and kill people, as if that's okay. And that's not extremism, or that's not bad. If they do it to us, it's bad. If we do it to them, it's not bad. I mean, it's just, you know, what I'm talking about is consistency and equality in the way we behave. You know, that to say that there's one set of rules for those people, another set of rules for us, and that's terrible, you know, and that's one unfortunate thing about the part of the world that's dominated by American culture, is this thinking that we're somehow better, we're somehow exceptional, and that we can behave differently to the way we expect other people to behave. You know, we can have nuclear weapons, but they can't. We can go into other people's countries uninvited, but they can't. We can drop bombs on towns and kill innocent people, but they can't. I mean, we need to be consistent. You know, if it's a crime, it's a crime. If killing people, you know, as it should be, if killing people is a crime, then killing people is a crime. And killing innocent people is a crime, killing innocent people is a crime. Detaining people illegally is a crime, it's a crime. You know, it's incredible the hypocrisy that you see, and YouTube's great because people are anonymous and you get to see what people really think. And the way people go on YouTube about their rights and about not infringing on my rights, and we don't want drones over our country, and we don't want this and we don't want that, and yet at the same time those same people, or their government, is doing the same thing to other people. You know, that big thing recently about North Korea and hacking Sony, which, you know, is pretty funny on a whole heap of levels, you know. I'm so ornery, but the hypocrisy of that. So that means if you get some Australian hacker that hacks into some French website or something, that means that that's an act of war. You know, what the fuck? You know, isn't it the hypocrisy of these things? You know, it's, I don't know, it's equality. Let's see these things applied evenly. You know, let's see less hypocrisy in the way we respond to these things. You know, and let's deal with those individuals. And they won't. This is why I didn't want to make this video, is because I know it's a waste of time. It's because moderate people will listen to this and go, well, that sounds reasonable. But there's always the extremists, and the extremists dominate our societies now. And that's why this thing's going to spiral out of control. You watch what happens. You watch. I mean, it's just getting worse and worse, isn't it? You know, and that the extremists from both sides are dictating the game. And the moderate people are going, oh fuck, don't look at this. And the extremists from both sides are doing it. So now you're going to get the bloody Nazi fuckwits who are going to go out and bomb mosques, and you're going to get the Muslim extremists who are going to respond to that. And then what happens is it builds up both teams. You start off with a small group of assholes, right? You know, Muslim assholes, Christian assholes, atheist assholes, Jewish assholes, just small groups of assholes, irrelevant what religion they are. And then they start these things, and then what happens is other people get drawn into it. It's the same as what you get when you get a bar brawl or something like that. It starts off with two guys just having a fight over something stupid, and then their friends start joining in, and all of a sudden it gets out of control. And that's exactly what's going on at the moment. So a couple of idiots go around and bomb a mosque, and then a couple of the people at the mosque who were fairly passive people go, hey, fuck you, and then they'll go and do something else stupid, and then it just gets out of control. Whereas what it really needs is for everyone to go, hey, just wait a minute, now let's all get together and find out who committed these crimes and punish them for it. And hit it on the head, stop it. That's what a civilized society would do. And I'm talking about the world society, not just one particular country, the world. You know, in 100 years, 200 years, 1,000 years, who knows how long it's going to take. From now, when the world is really civilized, they're going to look back at our behaviour now and go, cavemen. We're behaving like cavemen. Someone comes and hits us on the head with a lump of wood, and we go and hit them on the head with a lump of wood. That's not the solution. You know, it's not the solution. We need to say, look, that guy's done the wrong thing, punish him. Everyone calm down. It's the same as a barroom fight. You know, I used to work in that industry. You get two guys fighting in a bar, you grab the two guys that are doing the fighting, you take them out of there straight away. Separate them off. Because if you don't, and it just keeps getting out of control like that, and that's what we need to do when someone breaks the law and does the wrong thing, kills someone, bombs someone, anyone who's involved needs to be punished, and that's the end of it. You know, and we need to stand up when people are going on with their, oh, Muslims are bad, and their anti-Muslim protests and all this sort of shit, or their anti-Christian protests, or their atheist protests, or their whatever, they're being extreme or intolerant. That's what's required here, is more tolerance. More tolerance of the other decent people, and intolerance of the assholes. And actually on that topic too, recently these sort of topics tend to bring assholes, attract assholes, these videos, these videos about sort of emotional topics tend to attract assholes. And I often get accused of having thin skin and things like that because the way I react to these assholes. I would accept I'm intolerant. I'm intolerant of assholes, and I think that that's what we need. We need to be intolerant of extreme assholes. So when people come along with their extreme views and attack other people with their extreme views, I think what we need to be is intolerant of those people. Intolerant of the extremists and tolerant of the normal people. So in other words, let's not attack all the Muslims. Let's say, okay, they have a right to believe whatever they want to believe. But if you're a criminal, I don't care what religion you are, if you shoot other people or bomb other people or do anything at all to hurt other people, you're a criminal. I don't care what religion you are. It's irrelevant. You and anybody who helped you commit your crime are going to be punished for your crime within the law. And I don't care what religion you are, I don't care what your beliefs are. It's irrelevant, isn't it? Why is that irrelevant? There's no law in the world that says that your religion is connected to your crime or is a pertaining factor to your crime. The law is the law and it covers all people, and it's irrelevant to what your religion is. It doesn't matter. You know, 5 men were arrested today for the Paris bombing. That's what it should say. There should be no mention of being Muslim. You know, if 5 guys in America beat up some black guy somewhere, there's nothing in the paper that says 5 Christians were arrested today for beating a black man. Wouldn't say it, would they? So, anyway. The reasonable people be sitting there nodding going, yeah, it's probably fair enough. And then the extremist people be going, oh, he's been paid off by the CIA and the Jewish media or some fucking crazy shit. Anyway. Hopefully that prompted at least one person to be a bit more reasonable. More videos coming soon.